Hey guys, what's up? It's iFlynn here, and today we're going to be learning everything you need to know about Nyx and Nyx Prime in Warframe. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Everything You Need to Know About guide. In today's video, we're going to be learning about the mind control frame and the Rebecca's favorite frame, Nyx. Nyx in today's meta in Warframe is a very underused frame, as her abilities are outclassed by other frames a lot of the time, but that doesn't mean that she's a weak frame. For a newer player, her kit can actually save a lot of time and hassle, as her abilities are not too difficult to mod for and still have a great effect. Before we get into the nitty gritty of Nyx, I just want you guys to keep in mind that everything that I say in this video is subject to change, as Warframe is an ever-changing game, so information could be outdated if you're watching this video past its upload date. If that's the case, I'll have links in the description below to videos that have more updated info, as well as to the wiki for the frame. While you're down there, it may also be worth checking out the 1000 Platinum giveaway that I do every single month. Now that the shameless self-promotion and beta reminder is out of the way, let's jump right into Nyx's stats at level 30. At level 30, Nyx has 300 health, 300 shields, 15 armor, 225 energy, a sprint speed of 1.1, a V and a dash polarity in her modding section, and a dash in the aura. You can farm the parts for Nyx by killing the forward boss, who can be found under the Invasions tab in your navigation whenever he's available to be killed. Nyx does have a prime variant for her, which is currently vaulted. At rank 30, she has 300 health, 375 shields, 50 armor, 225 energy, a sprint speed of 1.12, a V, a dash, and a D polarity in her modding section, and finally a dash in the aura. As mentioned beforehand, Nyx Prime is currently vaulted, so you have to buy the relics that she drops from other players. I'll have a list of the relics that you need to buy on screen, so now you can buy them if you wish. However, I recommend just waiting for the frame to become unvaulted so that you can farm the parts yourself. When she's going to become unvaulted, I have no idea. Moving on to Nyx's abilities, her first one is known as Mind Control. This ability will allow Nyx to convert one enemy within 60 meters to fight for her for 30 seconds. The range of the ability is affected by power range mods, where the duration is affected by power duration mods. This ability has an augment for it known as Mind Freak, which makes any controlled target deal 500% more damage, the bonus damage being affected by power strength. This can be a useful mod, however, I tend not to use this, as I don't feel that Mind Control is necessarily Nyx's strongest ability. It's still pretty good though. This augment mod and all of Nyx's other augment mods can be obtained from the Arbiters of Hexus Syndicate at the rank of Maxim, or from the New Lucas Syndicate at the rank of Flawless for 25,000 Syndicate standing. Nyx's next ability is known as Psychic Bolts. This is probably Nyx's worst ability, as she sends out 6 bolts of energy that will deal 200 slash damage and can proc radiation. The damage of this ability is affected by power strength mods, however it's just not worth modding for, as the damage doesn't scale well. The ability does have an augment for it, however, called Pacifying Bolts that will stun enemies for 10 seconds, but this augment really doesn't make that much sense whenever you hear about her next ability. Nyx's third, and in my opinion best ability, is known as Chaos. This ability will allow Nyx to force all enemies within 25 meters to fight one another for 25 seconds. The range of this ability is affected by power range mods, and the duration that the enemies fight one another for is affected by power duration mods. This ability is spammable, so you can jump from room to room and force all enemies to fight one another, making her an insane crowd control frame. Chaos has an augment for it known as Chaos Sphere, which will create an aura around Chaos's initial casting area, and any enemy that walks into this aura will become confused and will begin attacking their allies. The downside that as the duration of Chaos dwindles, so does the size of the Chaos Sphere. Nyx's final ability is known as Absorb. With this ability, Nyx will meditate in one spot, absorbing all incoming damage. Reactivating the ability will cause Nyx to let out an explosion, dealing 1,500 plus the amount of damage stored to all enemies caught in the blast. Modding for more power strength will increase the base duration of the ability, and modding for power range will increase the explosion radius and absorb radius. Absorb does have an augment for it known as Assimilate. This augment allows Nyx to move at 50% speed while Absorb is active. This isn't an augment that I really use. Okay, so now that you know a little bit about Nyx's abilities and stuff like that, let's jump into learning how the abilities actually work and the type of builds that you will be using. So like I mentioned with Nyx, I don't really feel as if Mind Control, your Psychic Bolts are the best abilities. I feel like those two abilities could do with maybe a little bit of a rework. The Mind Control is kind of there for, Theme of the Warframe. You know, like you can use it to Mind Control like an Ancient Healer or something if you're playing against those enemies, and then have it fight for your side, or like a Shield Osprey or something. So the Ancient Healer will heal you, and you can have the Shield Osprey to give you shields or whatever. It's kind of like a gimmick ability in my opinion, and it's not something that is necessarily going to be that helpful as the enemies start to get like a little bit tougher. Obviously having like extra defense is good, but you're going to get to a point where you're just going to get one shot anyway, so it's not really worth using too often. Psychic Bolts, damage just sucks straight up. The footage that you've seen previously in the video, that was versus level 50s, and the reason that they were taking as much damage as they were is because they were shooting one another, right? Because of the radiation proc. So that's fine and everything, but it doesn't make that much sense whenever you can do the exact same thing with your third ability and make all the enemies fight one another, right? So I built around Chaos like 99% of the time, and you could also build like a very niche absorb build with a lot of range and a decent amount of power strength as well if you wanted to spam it. But I always just build around Chaos. That's what I use this frame for. And the big downside to using Nyx for crowd control is that Loki can actually do the exact same thing that Chaos does, but it does it better, because it disarms the enemies as well. So they're just fighting one another with sheaves or like their little batons or whatever that the Corpus have. So that's why Nyx is seen as like a not so much of a great frame, but she's still a good frame because the base stats for Chaos are very high. So you're basically like building around this one ability at all times, and Absorb is on there as a nice sort of like complementing ability, I guess you could say, because you can use it on like a defense mission to kind of cheese your way through it. It's what we used to do. It used to be meta, like we would use Nyx on defense, put absorbing Nyx on the defense spot, and then let it absorb all the damage and like one shot all of the enemies. But you can one shot all of the enemies in any mission with so many different frames now that it just makes absorb kind of like, why would you bother modding it for damage? And just makes Nyx more of a, hey, use your third ability to crowd control of the guy. But even at that, like I said, Loki can do what her third ability does better. I would say Nyx is more of a beginner player friendly caster crowd control frame. That's what Nyx is aimed at, in my opinion. She's really easy to farm. All you have to do is run forward over and over and over again to get all of her parts. Very easy boss. Just bring your Dread, which you'll get early from the Stalker, and use your Volt Shield or whatever, shoot through that to kill the boss, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, this is the build that I use. It is mainly duration, efficiency, and range. So you have Stretch, Overextended, Cunning Drift for your range. You have Chaos Sphere, because that's the augment that I like using, because it creates that little spear around Nyx, around the initial casting position, to make it so that any enemy that gets close will also be affected by Chaos. So it's up to you whether or not you want to run this, because keep in mind, Chaos is spammable, so it makes this mod kind of like meh, but it would be nice on something like a mobile defense mission or a defense tile set, which is rather small, where the enemies are going to be sprinting at you anyway, so versus the Infested or something, it makes sense. But if you don't want to run this, that's totally understandable. I would replace Chaos Spear for something like either Augur Reach or Augur Message, whatever you feel like throwing on. I would go for Augur Message to extend the duration, because the range is already really high because you have the free range mods. So yeah, that's what I would do. So we have Constitution and Prime Continuity for your duration on your Chaos. And then we have Streamline for casting, Vitality for health, Prime Flu for energy, Crucible Projection to register armor so you can deal damage to them. And then that is pretty much it. So this is how my build would look if we go ahead and we spawn in the enemies. These guys are level 50. It doesn't really matter what level they are. And this build lasts for 45 seconds on the Chaos. So if you were to throw on Augur Reach, let's just go ahead and test out how long it would last as well. Let's see. Oh, not Augur Reach, sorry. Augur Message. There we go. 207% duration. We hit it, it would go for 51 seconds, so just below a minute. It's okay, it's good, and like I said, it takes very minimalistic effort to get this build going. Like, all you have to do is get stretch and overextended, then you get streamline, maybe fleeting if you want to spam it a little bit, and then you have like this really wide skill crowd control ability online, which makes a lot of the content in the game very easy. Like, just imagine running through like a capture mission and just spamming your third ability to make it so that no enemies attack you, and that way, like, if you haven't invested too much endo into your vitality mod or something where you're taking a lot of damage and you're dying just because you haven't got the endo to rank that mod up, then Nyx basically makes it so that you can cheese your way through it, you know? So yeah, I would say Nyx is a very beginner friendly frame, and I would only really recommend beginners picking her up because, like I mentioned beforehand, there's other frames that do what this frame does a lot better, such as Loki with his irradiating disarm augment, or if you're going for wide scale AoE damage, you can use Resonating Quick Banshee, Equinox, Octavia. Octavia is just like a better version of this frame because you have crowd control, you can go invisible, you can deal so much damage literally just by standing still. And I don't know, Absorb just isn't worth building for in my opinion. It just, the damage is way too low, and I don't know, man. Like, you of course you can deal a lot of damage if the enemies are shooting at you, but it's such a weird janky build to sort of mod for, and it's just not what I would say is the best. That was a pacifying bolts build, I think. So let's go ahead and try to put one together here. Just to kind of demonstrate, like, the thought process behind the Absorb build. So you'd throw on Cruise Projection for more damage. You would throw on your Streamline and Prime Flow along with Fleeting. So let's try this out, just to have a balance of everything. So we're to throw on our Streamline. One from the top. It's a drain over time ability, so it's worth keeping in mind. So the drain per second is currently at 1. So let's see if we were to put on a maxed out Streamline, if that would change anymore. Nope, it caps out at 1, I think. So having a 1 from the top Streamline is probably a better idea, like so. Let's throw on our Vitality mod. Let us throw on... What else can we throw on? We could throw on Fleeting in this slot, put Streamline up here just to have it beside it. Throw on a little bit of Power Strength mods. So where's my Intensify? I think I'm blind. Here we go. And if we go to Stretch, we can throw that on too, and that'll increase the range of the explosion. You can combine that with either Cunning Drift or Pyre Drift, whatever. It's kind of down to you which one you prefer to have on. Personally, I think I would opt for probably Cunning Drift, just to make it so that the range is wider. And I mean, I wouldn't be necessarily using this versus higher level enemies anyway. I would be using the likes of Octavia, so having a decent range is what I would go for. And then you have another slot just to kind of throw on whatever. So any Augur mod, Augur Secrets, Message, Reach, whatever. You can maybe even throw on Constitution if you wanted more duration on your Chaos. But, like, the idea behind this one is to take as much damage as possible, right? So if we were to go ahead, jump over to the guys, let them go ahead and damage me. You can see the damage being absorbed in the top right. And then if we go ahead and let it go, you can see that we still don't deal that much damage. And we're taking a bunch of damage from these heavy gunners to begin with. Obviously not the exact same amount as you would be like if you were playing working Daily Defense or whatever, but it just isn't worth modding for. Granted, these guys have a lot of armor. You're still probably going to kill like level 30, 40, 50 enemies that don't have a lot of resistances. But, like I said, other frames do the whole killing thing better, and Nyx, in my opinion, should be a crowd control frame for newer players. So, other than that, guys, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked this video, go ahead, like. If you disliked it. If you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.